The film director is not the most grateful profession. Many directors shot some cult thing which was recognized after many years. But after that, having not yet succeeded in becoming a cult work, they stooped and they were written off. Actors are a little easier. There is always an opportunity to break through to the background. The director's background is the assistant director, and their surnames usually sound something like this. But there are those who are lucky at the very beginning of their career, and they begin to carry them on their hands. Everyone immediately sees a cloudless future, a big prize, and a talent that cannot be lost. Sometimes such directors have a lot of fans, and some of these fans are even more than everyone. Usually such directors are called Zack Snyder. Zack is one of those directors who have their own style, but yes, there is always a but. There is a small moment related to the fact that in 2 films everything is fine, and in the third, something suspicious appears. For example, our favorite cameraman and his big friend appear, who often has an epilepsy attack right on the editing table. After which the style gives a crack, and there is the same feeling of suspicion that the best directors work with the best specialists in other areas. And when the director is blunt or he is written off, then you have to work with our favorite cameraman, who knows everything at the level of so-so, or even at some more amazing level, which I can't say here without using bad words. That is, he knows how to set the light so-so, he knows how to play with filters so-so, and most importantly, he knows how to be a so-so specialist. Sometimes the director does not want to work with such professionals and becomes a cameraman, screenwriter, producer, and editor. That's what happened to Zack Snyder, who suddenly became an orchestra man. He tried to deceive the system. He became our favorite cameraman. According to the director's standards, Zack is not old yet. Even according to Quentin Tarantino's standards, Zack still has to be able to do something. He's not 60 yet, so Quentin leaves him a chance. But probably few people will deny the greatly decreased quality of the director's work. In general, today I would like to remind you of the director Zack Snyder, who once filmed The Keeper and The Man of Steel, and then began to shoot something else. No one knows why he is shooting it, but we will try to figure it out. Zack Snyder is another clip maker. He shot a huge number of different clips and commercials, for which he was often awarded different prizes and called very talented, and he decided to become a director after watching Star Wars. Josh Lucas changed a lot with his 1977 film. The same James Cameron or Christopher Nolan also call Star Wars the same film, thanks to which they decided to become directors. Due to the successful career of video clip director, Snyder got into the big movie late. He shot his first film at 37 years old. However, he could get into Hollywood a couple of years earlier. He was one of those people to whom Sony Studio approached with the offer to put a Special Forces movie from the City of Angels, and Snyder was in agreement. But when he began to remake the script and include his torn arms and head, he was asked to count on a teenage age rating. The director began to argue and prove the need for an adult. No one appreciated the jokes and he was driven away, as well as Tony Scott, who also offered to kill everyone in the bloodiest way. But the next offer did not take long to wait. The Universal Studio was looking for a director for the remake of The Dawn of the Dead and was looking for just a big lover to tear everyone's heads off with an adult rating. The script for The Dawn of the Dead was written by James Gunn, the same one who will later put the Guardians of the Galaxy and now is the head of DC. However, Snyder said that Zagan was polished by the script by a few more people, such as Michael Tolkien, responsible for the film In a Foreign Line and Conflict with Poverty. Many fans of the 1978 film were dissatisfied with the fact that Zack Snyder made zombies fast. The director himself claimed that he did it because slow zombies always seemed too funny to him, and he was afraid that the effect of comicality would be present in his film. And here he also came out great, showing himself in the shoot 28 days later. Therefore, there were no problems with the Universal Studio. Later, George Romero, the creator of The Dawn of the Dead of 1978, although he criticized different moments in the film, in general remained satisfied with what he saw and praised the creators for their efforts. But the director's gift at the production stage was still presented. Germany did it in the face of director Uwe Boll. Initially, the budget for Dawn of the Dead was $40 million, but before the start of production of Dawn of the Dead, the film House of the Dead by Webele was released. The film failed, getting an excellent average viewer rating of 2 out of 10, and Universal Studios panicked. The budget was cut to $26 million. Because of this, a couple of action episodes disappeared from the film, and those that remained became more chambered. This is especially noticeable in the finale of the film. The studio feared that the interest in such a project would be very low after Bolo. For the sake of fairness, if the budget for the picture was $40 million, then its occupancy would be under question. To be more precise, it would have to go to the pluses already on the media and television. Zack Snyder personally chose most of the music that sounded in the picture. The producers were against most of the selected compositions, but went to meet the director. After the release of the movie, they did not officially apologize, but Sarah Polley, the director, was already imposed by the producers. Diane Lane wanted to. Later, he will take the actress to his next projects. Polley says that throughout her career, she never had to put up with filming, and she ran a distance on them more than for her entire previous career. The video, which can be seen in the final credits, was shot after the completion of the main works on the film and the show of the material to the test audience. The audience considered the finale a bit interrupted, and thus the studio decided to turn around. After one of these shows, its advertising integration disappeared from the film. Zack Snyder claims that Starbucks coffee shop should initially have received a couple of ads in the film, but after the coffee shop representatives saw the draft version of the picture, they asked to remove all mentions of their institution from it. So the inscriptions were removed digitally, although the cafe room itself remained in the film. The Dawn of the Dead became the first film in history, 10 minutes of which were shown on television a few days before the premiere in the cinema. It is believed that such an advertising move gave its result. In the cinema, The Dawn hit in March 2004, and at the start, it dropped from the first place of the movie of The Passion of the Christ, which held the first position for 3 weeks in a row. With a budget of $26 million, The Dawn of the Dead collected $103 million in a worldwide roll. Here, the director almost became the director of the film The Last Battle. His refusal is explained in different ways. Somewhere he refused because he did not want to shoot someone's continuation, and somewhere because he was again not allowed to kill everyone and tear off the head. In the film, 300 Spartans were originally also forbidden to kill everyone, but Zack Snyder was able to convince the studio that for the film with sabers it was very important, and it would be worse without blood. However, unlike at Dawn, where it was necessary to protect the entire filming crew from the flying blood, the Spartans added almost all the blood at the post-production stage. At the shooting stage, only 10 liters of fake blood were used. Due to the adult rating, I had to donate part of the budget. In order to cut costs for creation, the studio used weapons from the films Troy and Alexander. It was just a little reworked. Zack Snyder claimed that he did not want to make the film historically accurate. According to him, in the comics of Frank Miller, roughly speaking, only names remained from the story, and after editing the script, he left even fewer historical moments there. There is also something funny. Initially, the unique style of the film was not in the plan. They came to it at the post-production stage by over-adjusting and adjusting various effects for the picture. One of the effects was so liked by the director and the producer that the film was decided to be made on it. This picture also had everything well with the test ones. They showed the tape to the audience many times, experimenting with stylistics and slow shooting. Slow-mo was so liked by the audience that it was made even more. The movie cost $65 million and got into the cinemas in March 2007. It managed to collect $456 million. Before the release of the Ryan Reynolds film in 2016, 300 Spartans were the most cash-successful screenings of comics with an adult age rating. This is actually very cool. Warner Studios claimed that it expected a net profit from the film in the area of the City of Sins, which amounted to about $70 million. However, according to the results of the shoot on the film 300 Spartans, after all the deductions, the revenue was almost $200 million. Snyder was instantly appointed an incredible talent, and all the money in the studio flew into him. The director just came to Hollywood and immediately shot 2 box office successful films, one of which became a huge hit. At the same time, the director went into all the nuances from editing to musical accompaniment, so the talent was considered with a big letter. After the Spartans, Snyder could again put a movie about X-Men. He took a closer look at the Rosamahi Solo but chose the Preservers. As usual, the adult rating was mixed, and the Rosamahi required a teenager. The Preservers could have visited us back in the early 90s. At that time, the film was directed by Terry Gilliam, but the comics were of little interest, and when the shadow fell, the project was closed, to return to it at the beginning of the 00S with Michael Bay at the helm. But here too, nothing came out. Bay became interested in another film. In the middle of the 00S, the Keepers finally fell into the hands of Warner, and 300 Spartans happened nearby. So the studio turned to Snyder, and he, having learned the material and having learned that everyone can be killed, quickly agreed. There were no special problems related to the production of the tape. Snyder was allowed almost everything he wanted. A few scenes for adults please, happy walks without underwear, do it. Spent $130 million on the cinema. Since the tapes after the test shows added scenes with visual effects and shot a couple of episodes, sometimes there are numbers of 150 million, but in any case, it was one of the most expensive films by an adult rating in history. 130, taking into account inflation, would now turn into 170, and 150 is a film with a budget of 220 million. The faith in the director was very huge, but as many know, the film failed in the movie, collecting only $187 million. At the same time, it started in cinemas perfectly, but from the second week, the tape scattered everywhere, giving out record drops. True, everything was very good on the trailers, only in the States, sales brought about 150 million. This is not as much as it may seem. Physical trailers gave even less rental. On average, 37%. The rest is the income of retailers, copy printing, marriage, and other deductions, but in general, these were still very good numbers, as there is still piece sales on television and other sources of income. Later, the studio reported that they managed to get a profit from the film. Snickers was a pack of crackers or enough for a yacht, this was not clarified. In general, this failure did not hit Zack very much. Moreover, he has already worked in parallel on the cartoon Legend of the Night Guards. On the basis of his series of books Catherine Love, she started in 2003, and at the moment there are 15 books. That is, the studio was counting on a whole franchise. Now we would have watched the 5th film or even the 25th. Active production of the tape started at the very beginning of 2009, and already in September 2010, the Night Guards were taken to the cinema, where they failed, collecting 140 million with a budget of 80. I have already stopped at this cartoon. The main reason for the failure is called the children's rating. The cartoon came out too gloomy for him, but due to the ratings, it was impossible to show much more in it. Therefore, everything seemed too gloomy for children and too childish for adults. It turned out that there was no target audience for the cartoon, only rare fans, so the advertising was in vain. Zack Snyder many times reported his desire to make a sequel, but apparently there are no big sales on the media in the cartoon, so he never voiced anything but Snyder's desire. The rising career of the director clearly boxed, and in 2011 the film appeared, which most strongly influenced the further career of the director. In Legends and Spartans, Snyder also worked on the script, but it was polishing. And here he already personally wrote the script, starting with the original idea, and for the first time it was rejected in the adult age rating. The film also had to be cut a lot, including because of the age commission. The bed scene disappeared. The director said that there was nothing too frank there, but it was impossible to cut it so that it passed the rating commission. Due to the fact that in all shortened versions it seemed that violence was happening, although in the full version there was nothing like that. Therefore, it was necessary to cut the scene completely so that no one would see what was not there in the film. Although the tape was cut well, it does not have a directorial version. The director wanted to release it, which he said many times, but the film's box office is only 89 million with a budget of 82. And unlike many other directors' films, The Forbidden Reception does not have a large number of viewer ratings, which may hint at the fact that the tape is not in special demand. And this probably was the last film of the director for the Warner Studio, where Snyder had a great influence on filming. In the next film, he was even ordered to reduce the slow-mo to the very minimum. That's it for today. Part 2 will be out very soon, don't miss it. Happy to introduce you to a fantastic website that lets you stream movies, shows, and documentaries without the hassle of juggling multiple subscriptions like HBO, Netflix, Max, Hulu, Apple TV, and others. Just click the link in the description to check out this top-notch streaming service today. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more great content. Share your thoughts and suggestions for future videos in the comments below, and don't forget to click the bell icon so you never miss an update.